that. The soil is just falling away.
Field of plots that we've been working on this last 3 years, all drilled differently, all looking pretty well. They were sowed a wee bit later than I would like, but have all established. So I'm going to show you one here in a moment, which is quite interesting. Here's the soil analysis on them all to see if there's any variation as well, so that we know where we're heading 3 years later. Something which I think is indicating to me the soil health in one particular plot. Take the camera around, and this plot at the bottom here, just see the 4 different plots. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one on the far side. They were all ploughed and then drilled. These middle ones were all cultivated and drilled, and then the top ones up here are all direct drilled with 4 different drills. So we'll just open up a wee bit here with a spade and see what we've got under the surface. And that soil, we're having absolutely no cultivation for 4 years. It's breaking down lovely. The wee bit on the surface there's a wee bit firmer. That soil is working for itself. Take a look at the min-till plots. The line is actually in line with that peg where the scarecrow is. This side, lots of cultivation of the crows. Lots have been hooked. You literally cross over the line and there's a lot less activity. See a wee bit there, but the wheat is up and coming. And just to show you, if we come on down to the plots that have been ploughed, which currently at the moment look much better, but whether that equates to yield remains to be seen. So direct drilled, or sorry, ploughed and sowed by the horse drill. There's a wee bit there, just a wee bit thinner in front of me. Sit over here, in with the Clayton, and we'll go on along here a wee bit and show you the other. Here we have ploughed and then sowed with your power combination, so your standard sort of 1-pass operation. Looking okay. And then across into ploughed and sowed with the Simtech drill, and it's looking pretty good too. So if we walk on up, we just crossed over into cultivated and sowed with the Simtech, and the top bit here is where it crosses over into direct drill. And at the moment you can't really tell with the cultivated plots stop and the direct drill start. So there's your line of pegs. This section was all cultivated and then sowed with the appropriate drill, and this section was just direct drilled. So this was the Simtech drill. Looking really good, but not a lot of activity from the crows over here. I don't know why that's because the legs is moving a lot more soil. It's definitely not the same activity. This is a min-till power combination. Swing around to direct drill. Power combination. And if anything, this plot looks like, because the soil on the surface has been churned so much, it's a lot shinier and finer, and has sort of slumped itself a wee bit, even though guys would do, just tickle on the surface. But we'll try and put the spade in here and see. Really, we'll see. When we get to that depth that the power hire tines have been working, it's really compact underneath. It's created a pan, stopping anything more happening below that. It's really hard to get speed in. There we are, look. You can just see with a bit at the bottom. The top bit that's been worked is fine and adequate. The bit below is really hard. So if we come out of the power hire combination and into the Clayton, you can see a lot more trash on the surface because it's not getting incorporated the same. But the wheat's looking pretty good. It's all there. And in comparison to its cultivated and ploughed, initially when you look at it, it looks a lot greener, but that's because there's no trash intercepting it. Seeds and the plants are all there. And it looks pretty good all the way down. The camera actually doesn't do it justice to how much green there is. This plot is the one that I'm talking about. This is our easily most direct drilled, if you want to call it that. It's pretty much direct drilling wheat. The discs would give it a wee bit of a shake on the surface, but that's it. All these other plots have had some form of cultivation, be it this one here has had cultivator legs through to 4 inches. The bottom one was ploughed to 7 inches, and these other ones, the Clayton has leading legs. The power hire had the toes well down in, as we can see there, to about 3-4 inches, and then at the far side the Simtech has also got legs down in cultivating the soil. Now less than the Clayton would have, but just of all the spots the crows can pick, with all these surrounding fields, with all these other 11 plots in the same field, and the crows to a line, if we show you, that's the 2 pigs are renovating this one plot each year. There's the difference again. 2 pigs, cultivated, direct drilled. I find that very interesting. Problem is it's not doing the plants as much good, but just look at the activity. The worms have migrated to this part of the field, and the crows have come here to help them out with all this wet weather we've had for the last couple of weeks. The activity is there. The big issue is, and I'm sure there's some of you sitting there going, there's not a lot of point having good soil and lots of worms if the crop ain't going to grow. But if this was done on a wider scale, in the whole field, obviously the crows would have more area to choose from, and the worms wouldn't be concentrated on the one area, so that would mitigate that. But yeah, it's frustrating that the plot that is probably the healthiest soil wise in terms of condition, it remains to see what will come back on our soil analysis. We'll follow that up later. But yeah, I think the wildlife and the worms in the soil are telling its own story there. So we're now in the field of winter wheat that has been direct drilled straight into the cover, no cultivation, nothing, sowed on the green. We did spray it off with glyphosate then afterwards, but well pleased with how it's established. Looks rough from the road, and initially because you've got all the trash there and mixed in, you don't get to see the nice clean green rows like you do if it's bare soil. But at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. As long as it yields and the soil's happy, farmer's happy. Just flick the camera around there so you can see better. You can run the rows right up the field. A few wee bits of weeds will have to knock out, but in general the green is there. I'm well pleased. probably going to use a good bit more nitrogen here, trying to get rid of the straw trash. Just taking our spade, digging down in here to see what we've got. These fields have been min-tilled this past few years. And now it's in the direct drill. And just look at that. The soil is just falling away. Looks like a big stone there. But it just crumbles. The worms in there. The soil's happy. Look how dry that soil is in comparison to the soil that we were touching there a while ago after the plough and the power harrow combination. Super. And if we can just get a wheat plant there without breaking the roots off, see how we're just look at the roots on that, and the soil is sticking to them. The roots are binding to the soil nicely. It's a good happy plant with hopefully lots of potential. Now this was the first field drilled. We have other fields that would be more advanced. Then we don't need it massively advanced. As long as the plants are there and ready to go after the winter. And a good root structure down in there. Look at the depth of that root. Happy days. Just heading down here into some oats after wheat. These were established nice and early. We got them rolled down. One of the big advantages this autumn, we got all the crops rolled. Good consolidation, gets the seed in good contact with the soil to get it up and away, and it's looking pretty good. Nice thick rows of oats. You can see there's still quite a bit of surface trash because this was just given a light cultivation and then direct drilled after the wheat. This is our wheat after potatoes. You can see that the leftover goodness from the potatoes is certainly helping the wheat go moving on nice and green. You got to ignore all those volunteers. That's a perfect example of it was really dry in the summer when we were harvesting the first half of this field. You can see the far side's a lot cleaner, and a lot of the small tubers fell through the webs in the harvester. They were lost into the field, and as we currently haven't had a lot of frost yet, it means those potatoes are growing quite happily. But hopefully the frost will chop them all. There's a couple there now. Got in touch with the frost starting to go black. We need that to happen to them all. But there's something else I want to show you down here that we've been working on. Always trying to reduce our reliance on artificial fertilizer. And this come to fruition actually before there was any mention of the fertilizer price escalating. But this is our clover intersowed with our wheat plant. And hope is that these clover plants will fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and feed it to the wheat, meaning that we need less fertilizer on the wheat plant. The best time for me to establish this is after the potatoes. It's dwarf white clover, with the hope that we can incorporate it straight after the potato crop if we can get them harvested early enough, and then we can maintain that green cover for 5 years before we come back with our next potato crop, where we'll then completely cultivate the field and destroy the clover and start again then after the potatoes. That's the ideal scenario. Whether that works or not, and if you get a cold wet autumn, it wouldn't be ideal for trying to establish your clover, but that's what would work in my rotation, so that's what we're aiming to try out. We come on along here a wee bit to where we have no clover, and see see what it's looking like. So we'll compare this field as we go on throughout the year. You see there, just a few weeds, there's no clover.